and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So in this video I'm going to have a quick look at what's been going on with Castle Crush. So Castle Crush is a traditional game, a free-to-play mobile game, what we might call a Web 2 game, from studio Wildlife Studios. Being broadly successful as a free-to-play mobile game. I'm not doing anything particularly different in terms of sort of the gameplay, so it's like a head-to-head sort of lane battler. But it announced they were going to do Web3 stuff earlier in 2022, and slowly sort of these things are rolling out. So the actual stuff is all going to go live. So the NFTs are live, what we look at now, and they're going to be sort of you're going to connect your sort of wallet to your game account later on in August, mid-August. So this is so the NFTs have dropped. So there are 19,000 NFTs, and basically the game works as a sort of card game. So the characters are cards. You level them up. When you go to sort of play a game, you have a deck of cards. You have obviously fixed number. They all have mana costs. All have different sort of attributes. So some of these cards have been now created as NFTs. When you'll be able to connect those, you'll be able to use them in the game, obviously. And also, there's a whole bunch of blockchain stuff going on there. One of the sort of things is when you have these cards, you'll also start getting some of the game tokens as a sort of passive income sort of situation. So the chests were sold off and then were opened. So you can see here, I've just rearranged this. This is a marketplace called NFT Trade. So the game's running on the NFTs are on the Avalanche blockchain. There's not an enormous amount of games yet on Avalanche. There's not an enormous sort of infrastructure for trading. So NFT Trade is actually a cross-chain NFT platform, and it's sort of the biggest one that's doing Avalanche stuff. So that's why we're looking at that one. So we see here we had a founder's chest and an ascended chest. So the ascended chests were 3.5 Avalanche tokens, and the founder's chest was 35, if I'm right. So obviously now they're open, so there's no point. You could buy one if you wanted, but there's no value there, I don't think. And now we can see some of these sort of characters that have come out. So there's 19,000 NFTs in total. That's what the game's saying. There are 627 owners, it's saying here, 16 different items. So obviously there's multiple, hundreds of each of these cards. To date, there's been 113 sales. Only 15 are listed for sale at the moment. So it's a very early market. No one knows what's going on. I wouldn't recommend you go buying stuff at the moment. And obviously with all these sort of things, I wouldn't do any of this stuff as an investment. I'm doing it. Actually, I'm playing Castle Crush. I've been playing that since they announced they were going to Web3. So I'm not very good at it, but I've slowly been grinding my way up. I guess I'm about halfway where I need to be, but we'll see. So we can see here, the different sort of cards. So these, as with every blockchain thing, people can just set whatever price they want. So some of these prices are, obviously ridiculous. People charging, setting enormous sums of money. I mean, the Black Witch is quite a sort of, the Black Witch and the Dragon. Those are quite powerful. Skull Queen. Those are quite powerful sort of characters in the game. But obviously, not really clear they're worth this amount of money. The Archer and the Dwarf are sort of the entry level cards. So you get these very early. You get these as soon as you start playing the Web 2 game. These are sort of two characters you start off with. Dwarf's actually quite useful. So I'm about halfway through the leveling process. Dwarf is still pretty useful. He's quite strong. Doesn't have much attack, but he's very low mana, only 2 mana. Archers again, the minimum sort of range sort of character. Hasn't got a lot of health, but is a range character again, sort of to Marvel. So they're quite characteristic characters. As you get into the game, we'll quickly look at the game as well. There's I wouldn't say hundreds, but there's dozens of different characters as there tend to be in this game. So some people will have their sort of their favourites. I quite like Storm Elemental. It's sort of quite a interesting sort of time-based card. So the longer it stays, you have to basically kill it straight away. Otherwise, it just gets very, very powerful. So it's sort of an interesting sort of dynamic card. Quite low mana, so you have to know when to use it, which I do sometimes. So there we go. So I'm going to go and buy something. I'm actually going to buy a dwarf. So these are, so to say, these ones came out of the ascended chest that were 3.5 Avalanche. So these are basically sort of selling at, and this is actually selling slightly below the floor, the price of which these things were sold at. Although that was, I think, back in May. So maybe obviously market conditions have changed a little bit. And the other ones, say these other ones came out of the 35 token box. So any of these ones being priced at over 35, they're obviously sort of a markup there. I mean, also see sort of highest offer, so someone's prepared to buy one of these for 10. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. But anyway, there we go. So I've logged into this. This is browser based. I've logged into this with my MetaMask. So Avalanche is an EVM compatible blockchain, as we say, like Ethereum uses the Ethereum. Try again. Uses Ethereum compatible. Uses the Ethereum virtual machine (EVM). So you can set up your MetaMask to interact with the Avalanche blockchain. I've got some Avalanche tokens in there as well that I happen to have lying around. So let's go in and get ourselves a dwarf. So we can see here, there's a dwarf, nice little animation. This gem here, when he comes in the Web 2 game, this will show he is a NFT. Yeah, probably not been a lot of trading. Let's have a look. So price. So this is the listings. This is the offers. So people are offering about 3. How many people have bought some? So there's been some buying going on. Or has there? This is list. Doesn't say. Maybe there's not been any buying of those. I don't know. And last sold for 3.4 15 hours ago. So there we go. So I could place an offer now if I wanted to try and buy for 3.3 or something. That would be a boring video. So you can see here I'm going to buy for 3.41 Avalanche. Okay, so I had some problems there. I don't quite know what was going through, but it definitely wasn't working. So the transaction wasn't going through the Avalanche blockchain. Couldn't work out why. So I've ended up buying an Archer instead. So for some reason the dwarf wouldn't go through. I fiddled around with it for a while. Not quite sure what was going on there. I think maybe I don't know. I wouldn't even speculate. So anyway, so I've got my Archer. So if I can now go into my NFT collection, we can see here. There we go. I have my Archer. So that's the one I've just bought. One owned by me. That was I just bought for 3.1 Avalanche. There's about sort of $75. So there we go. I've got my one character, yeah, at some point in mid-August, that will I'll be able to sort of connect that to my game, and we'll see how that's going. So it's sort of interesting, I guess, with Castle Crush, that the sort of the cheapest one to say are about sort of 75-ish. I mean, it depends on the price of the token, obviously. But yeah, we could broadly say like around about sort of $75 to $100. The other ones, the more expensive ones, are actually fairly expensive. So it's like a 10 times on that. So it's like $800 to $900 for those ones. So that's quite a big sort of delta. Obviously, for NFTs, that's not necessarily a massive amount, but I think that's towards the sort of higher end of sort of mint costs that you would expect someone to spend $1,000 buying an NFT for. What is I really like Castle Crush as a game, but it's not the most in-depth game. So maybe people spending $1,000 to me seems a bit too much. But obviously they've sold out their NFTs, so who am I to know? And I think a lot of guilds have actually got involved. So these are sort of people who have quite a lot of capital to deploy into games, blockchain games, in the hope of earning. So we'll see how that goes. So I've got my NFT now. Let's go and have a quick look at the game so you can sort of see how these are going to sort of play out. Okay, so very briefly moving over to the iPad and Castle Crush the game. So this is my sort of deck that I play with. So you can see these different characters. So you can see if we go down the bottom here. There is the Archer that I don't actually use the Archer, but we can see here there's the Archer. It's actually leveled up. It's actually only 1 mana. I forget that. So only 1 mana, the sort of the cheapest unit you can use. And I've leveled this up. I've been playing for a while. So this is level 10, but it's a common card, so it doesn't. I think they level up to level 12, the common ones, and then the other ones can go up higher. So yeah, you can see sort of attack, health, range, and then what I was trying to do was trying to buy the dwarf again, like a common card, one of the first ones you get. So you can see the artwork sort of the same for the NFT, but the NFT is sort of animated and has this sort of big, where that big 2 is, that's the mana cost that has this sort of big NFT sort of jewel in there. And obviously you can see, there's tons, tons and tons. There's 68 cards in total. I've only found 51 of them. I've not unlocked them all, but obviously you can only have a certain number. What's that? Only have 7, 14. You only have 14 in your deck, so you have to sort of make some choices around which ones you have and how what low mana versus high mana and all that sort of stuff. So whether all the cards are going to be NFTs in the end, I don't know. At the moment, they're not all NFTs. I think with the sort of NFT collections, sort of more can be less. So you sort of overwhelm the audience, I think, with having too many things. I guess probably over time you could have these different drops, and people obviously have different sort of characters that they really like. You can see, you know, I have some of these. I have sort of 2 of. I think they're really useful. It sort of depends a little bit on your strategy, how you want to play the game. Some people play in a very specific sort of way. I'm more of a generalist, I would say. But some people want to play in a very sort of blitzkrieg to try and finish it off really quickly. Some much more towards the sort of the point at which you get more mana, and you can use some of these more sort of complex troops, like who have we got here? Probably I don't even use any of these things like the Skull King, he's pretty big, and he spawns all these skeletons as well, and it's all pretty cool. And when you get really, I've not even unlocked these, but I've seen some of the other people playing things like this, sort of dragons and all manner of weird and wonderful sort of characters. So that's what we've got. So we're waiting for mid August, and that's when I can actually sort of attach my my game ID for this game into my wallet. I guess that would be like a one-off sort of binding. So you can't sort of, I imagine you probably only do it once. I mean, it's sort of like an off-chain process, but you're sort of then at that point, I guess the game developers infrastructure will be able to see what's in your wallet, and it will sort of to that degree sort of tag that you've got these NFTs in your wallet, and thus you deserve whatever the rewards are. So we wait to see when that happens, and I'll certainly be doing another video about that. So please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you again.